Council meeting Monday, March 6, 2017 to order. Clerk call the roll, please.
Alderman Putoff.
He's here.
Ferrari. Here. Waldorf. Lukosius.
Here.
Radke.
Here.
Sapienza. Payton.
Here.
Ballard.
Here.
Mayor Harrell.
Here, please stand, pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Presentation, Economic Development, Bob Vickery. It's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor Harrell, members of the council. With me tonight is Allison Speyer, who is going to share with you her intent, and I'm going to give her most of the speaking part. As you all know, this is economic development in Peru is a team effort, and special recognition should be given to Alderman Ferrari, who spent time with Allison Speyer, on 2 different occasions to walk her around the neighborhood, and she appreciates that, and so do I. So Allison, why don't you come up and tell us what you're going to do?
Thanks, Bob. I am Dr. Allison Speyer. I'm the current owner of McNabb Veterinary, which is in McNabb, Illinois. This is right now exclusively small animal practice, although it didn't start out that way. I and my husband are now the 4th owners of this practice, which is a heritage practice, so that means it's been open more than 100 years, and there aren't very many in Illinois. Well, for some time now, we have been looking to expand our business, and we have been looking for a location, and we believe that we have actually finally found a great location, which is 1016 7th Street in Peru. For those of you unaware of where that exactly is, that is the old doctor's building on 7th Street, right after the overpass of 251. So this building would give us a great location to have a small animal practice. It has off-street parking. It's got a lot of perks that we were looking for in a location. Alderman Ferrari was kind enough to take me around to all the neighbors and introduce me, and in doing so, we found that everybody is actually very welcoming and excited to have us in that location. So that was a little surprising to me. I thought we might have a little bit of opposition, but so far so good. Nobody has complained about anything. I know that there are some concerns in regards to kennels and dog boarding and things like that. The good news is with the back part, I don't know if you guys are aware, there's 2,000 square feet up front and 3,000 in the back. That's a big warehouse. Well, the warehouse will be converted to surgery and kennels and things like that, where all the dogs are, treatment, prep work, all that kind of stuff. So we will be able to locate the kennels closer to 251, which is the very back of the building, and that's the furthest away actually from all the houses. The good thing is my husband does a lot of construction, so we will be able to soundproof everything to make it so the neighbors are happy with everything, and also we're happy in the building too, so we aren't listening to the dogs as well, because that is a concern when you're trying to see appointments. You don't want to listen to all the dogs barking in the back either. So right now we're just really happy and really excited to see how this goes, but this seems to be the best location we have found thus far. So.
Are there any questions or comments from members of the council?
I'd just like to say that Allison called me a little over a month ago, and she was brought to me by Bob, and we met with the neighbors. This building's been sitting empty, I want to say, for over 2 years, and it is zoned residential, and the only way it could be is a special use. And talking with all the neighbors, they didn't want to divide it into apartments, which I don't either. I live in that neighborhood, and when Allison came and we went and talked to the neighbors, they were just ecstatic over what was planning or hoping to go in there.
So there's in any kind of animal hospital, there's always boarding because the animals stay for surgery or medical boarding or whatever the case may be. McNabb will stay as is, which we do have. We're actually set up similar. We have a residential kind of area is where the clinic is, and it's been there since the early 90s. And even with dogs, and that's not very well soundproof because it was built before we added an addition, but not where the dogs are. And even with neighbors being fairly close, we haven't had any issues. So there will be boarding at both locations. We aren't going to per se be boarding dogs, though. It's not like we're going to have like 30 dogs a night stay there. more of our intent is the hospital-borne, you know, post-surgical things or medical, like dogs that are diabetic or had surgery that have to stay overnight.
Dr. Spire, is there a limit as far as how many dogs you can house at one time?
Not that I'm aware of. So I guess it would probably depend on your facility, how well you can house the dogs in appropriate-sized kennels.
Square feet?
Yeah. I know that for shelters and things, they try to work that out for the happiness of the animals, but I don't believe, unless you're talking about farm animals, that there is actually like a amount per square foot and a dog kind of a thing.
This is your small animal place, though, right?
Yep, it'll only be small animals.
You still do farm animals?
Nope, I don't do any,
lot of that?
both are gonna be exclusively small animal.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this will go to planning and zoning, and they'll have to recommend back.
Right.
Allow special use, or I don't even know if this special use is allowed, or if to amend the zoning ordinance to allow that, I don't know, but that'll all go before zoning. And then it'll come back to us for approval, I guess, right?
Right.
Well, thank you so much for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Allison. Bob, are you done? Okay, do we have a motion to receive the minutes and place on file?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second. Have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I have to back up a second. Was there any public comment on any agenda items? Anybody fill out a card?
I have no card, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll move forward then. Do we have a motion to receive financial reports in place on file?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion and a second, and any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Do we have a motion to receive the activity reports in place on file? So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Chief Burnaby, did you want to say a few things about the storm?
An overview, I guess, from the city of Peru standpoint. I guess the storm was coming in. Obviously, we were in contact with National Weather Service and other communities and spotters and that sort of thing. And we were obviously pleased to know the storm was going to go south of Peru. But as everyone knows, as it traveled easterly and along the Illinois River banks, it obviously caused the devastation over in Naples and Ottawa. That all started, a few minutes before 5, and I think it was about 5:30. I don't have the exact times, but the Ottawa Fire Department and the Naples Fire Department activated everybody's heard the term MABUS, Mutual Aid Box Alarm System, and it's a statewide protocol. Illinois is probably the leader in the fire service across the country for MABUS, and so the alarm went off in our dispatch center, requesting several of the local fire departments from Peru. They specifically had requested the rescue squad and engine and requested our fire chief go over there, which they immediately responded, and then a crew came in and manned our fire station. The crew at the station then did have some minor calls in Peru that we went out actually south of town, went and moved a tree off the road because the county highway department wasn't going to be there, obviously, based on what they were dealing with. Chief King went over there, became part of the incident management team that we talked about a few weeks ago. If you remember, we got your blessing that he could be part of a statewide team. So he was part of the incident management team right from the beginning that night. I know over the next few days, several times he was designated in 12-hour shifts as the incident commander of the whole Naples section. It was around 7 or 8 o'clock. Jeff called me at the dispatch center and said they were asking for mutual aid from Public Works. So we got 4 of our Public Works employees, 2 of our 1-ton trucks, and as they put it, send as many chainsaws and fuel as you can. So starting Tuesday night, in addition to the fire people, we had 4 Public Works people over there. Around 9 o'clock, the Ottawa Police Department activated the police version of MABUS, which is called ILEAS. You make one phone call. We used it at the West Clocks fire a few years ago. You call a dispatch center up in Arlington Heights, you tell them who you are, you tell them what's going on, you tell them how many officers you need, and then they enter it all in the computer, and they try not to hurt local departments in the sense of they didn't call us and say we wanted 10 guys from Peru or whatever. They called our dispatch center and said, starting now, we want at least one guy from Peru, one from LaSalle, one from Oglesby, that sort of thing. So Tuesday night, we had the police over there. So we had a pretty good representation starting Tuesday night. And obviously, we were going to offer whatever we possibly could and continue to do that. I think about 3:30 in the morning, Public Works came back, rested up, sent additional fresh crew Wednesday morning back, 4 guys in vehicles and chainsaws. Jeff got a couple of hours sleep, went back, started to run the command post again. The fire department sent a fresh crew of guys over in the rescue squad. We relieved officers. We either did 6 or 12-hour shifts where we would rotate our guys through over there, and they were pretty much, the police were assigned to South Ottawa just to help with scene security over there. I think at one time there were 75 policemen over there from all over Illinois that were on scene helping. So that lasted really, I think, until Thursday night. The last guy from the police department was relieved about 7 o'clock and said if they needed us, they would obviously call us back, and they fortunately did not have to. So we pretty much were there from Tuesday night, right when it happened, till Thursday evening, and then I know Jeff went back again Friday. And then this week, I know they'll be starting their debriefing process where they get together and figure out, for a tragedy and a real bad situation, what went well, what could go better the next time, because we all know there will be a next time. We just don't know where it's going to be. So there's all the debriefings that are going to be coming down the road and any tweaks. We've made notes the night in the dispatch center, started making all kinds of notes about what we would do to tweak things, especially with Valcom being part of the equation, how, be efficient and that sort of thing. So it was a pretty involving thing, and, we dodged a bullet, obviously.
Chief, I mean, we all understand there's nothing positive about a tragedy, but I think from a standpoint of the city of Peru and the citizens, I think it's very impressive that there is a plan in place, and it's a step-by-step procedure when an accident or a tornado of this magnitude comes through town, that you make specific calls, you ask for specific help, and there's a detailed plan for that. And I think that in itself is the best planning that you can have.
If you don't have a plan, you're going to have chaos. And when you have a plan in a tragedy, that's what incident command's all about. And if you have a plan and you adhere to it, tragedy's still there, but you're able to address it head on. So you're absolutely right. It has to be taken seriously, not just when you have a tragedy to remind you, but it's a constant thing where you're looking at things.
Chief, when the second storm was coming in later in the evening, you set out a code red now. Is that what the dispatch now, or did LaSalle and Oglesby and all them have code red?
Well, yeah, we have, it's the code red, how many years now? 6, 7, 8 years?
I know we've had it, but I didn't know.
Peru, LaSalle, Utica, Oglesby, and Spring Valley share a code red account. It's under the city of Peru, but they were able to join us and get more minutes. It was very cost effective for everybody because there was a minimum charge.
That was very well done that night. Even people from LaSalle that got calls were very impressed.
And Mendota has code red. Now they have a separate account up in Mendota. So a storm down here generally is not affecting Mendota. A storm up in Mendota isn't going to have necessarily the impact down here. It could, but it's not typical. So it makes sense that they're a separate system than ours. The second code red of the night was basically, we have the ability, and today I was able to download a new app. Code red just went to a next generation code red. It's a better system, okay, and it's even more user-friendly where I could hit an app here and call a lot of people just from the phone, just like that. The second call, we've had an agreement between all the communities. If any of the LaSalle, Peru, Oglesby, Utica, or Spring Valley gets a phone call or gets any information, the first chief or the first person that can activate code red, don't do it just for your city. Do an all call for Oglesby, Utica, LaSalle, and Spring Valley. So that night, I was the first one to get there because we were contacted because Peru was at the 9:55 report that was coming in. So I just did an all call. That's why those calls went to people in LaSalle, Peru. I think there was 18,000 phone calls went out that night as part of that all call. So they didn't have to then get into the system and send the same message. It wouldn't have worked probably as effectively. So with Valcom, we're going to even tweak that a little bit more. Little things that we've learned, but that's why we did that. Because if a storm's going to hit Peru, it's probably hitting Spring Valley. It's first, it's going to hit us, it's going to hit LaSalle, it's going to hit Oglesby. So I think what's going to happen moving forward as a part of the more protocol, if any of the towns are activating an imminent tornado warning, it'll be an all call, and it'll come out of the Valcom dispatch center.
It also brought some awareness of the system. When we first implemented the Code Red system, it was well publicized by the media, what it was there for and how it was to be used. Because we really haven't had any major incidents, it's not something that's been used. So its use after this storm's generated a lot of phone traffic through the clerk's office on, how to enroll, if you can have your cell phone on it, and actually it's a pretty detailed system. Not only can you add your phone, you can add your spouse's phone.
Yeah, you can add all them, and on Facebook, on the city site, and on the police Facebook, I put an informational sheet out again reminding people, and we get the statistics. I can go online and look at the statistics, and a lot of people have registered their phone numbers since last week that just never got around to doing it. And the one thing is, if you have a cell phone, it is not going to be in Code Red unless you go enter it. So the only databases out there for communities are the hardline phones. So those are a thing of the wayside. People are, there's not as many home phones. So if you have a cell phone, there's no database we can buy that from or get that from to pump it into Code Red. The only way a cell phone is going to get in is somebody has to register that number. And I think out of the communities we have, I think as of today, we had nearly 7,000 phone numbers in. I think LaSalle has a little over 4,000 phone numbers. Utica, 500 or whatever the number. So, out of the local communities, obviously we have the highest percentage of people that have entered their phone numbers. So, well, I think we're going to obviously see more with the bad things that happen. That's one thing people realize is, I better get registered for Code Red, that type of thing.
Chief, on the Facebook pages, do you have it where notifying people that if they have a cell phone they need to?
Yeah, that's in there. And maybe it's time, and I think it is time. Not maybe, I think it's time to put it on red paper, another reminder, and put it in the utility bills. We've done that several times over the last couple of years, but I think it'd be nice to have them in one of our upcoming bills. Not this much detail, because people aren't going to read this much detail. Just a bullet point, register your phones for Code Red. Don't assume it's in there. Because if you go to re-register and it's already in the database, it's going to tell you you're already in. If it accepts you, that's telling you somehow it fell out. So. I think I already maybe talked to Ben on that there, Alderman. So.
It was pretty impressive, obviously, being there that night, it was pretty impressive. I think it was about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
The level of organization that had already existed in the village at that point in time was impressive. And even today, I drove into work today, I saw, 3 trucks, public works trucks, and mowing trucks.
Right.
One from Oak Park, one from, there must have been a line of, if it was 10, it had to be 20 public works trucks lined up to take, all the tree branches and all those things away. The level of organization that occurred in a pretty short amount of time is very impressive. So.
Okay.
All right. We'll move on to committee reports. Finance, Safety Services, Chairman Putoff.
Alderman Radke?
Yes, Your Honor. First thing is disbursements. Total disbursements for March 8, 2017 are $1,421,040.30. I move that this report be received, placed on file, and the bills paid in the usual manner.
Second, Your
Have a motion and a second to receive the disbursements, place on file, and pay the bills in the usual manner. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote, clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Lukosius. Radke. Payton. Ballard.
Motion approved.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve a $500 donation to Cops for Cancer.
Have a motion and a second to approve a $500 donation to Cops for Cancer. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote, clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Lukosius. Radke. Payton. Ballard.
Motion approved.
That's all we have, Your Honor, in that committee.
Public Services, Alderman Lukosius.
Yes, Your Honor. Tonight I'd like to make a motion to award the bid for the former Marathon gas station for the pulling of the tanks to the lowest responsible bidder, Purpose Contracting Incorporated, in the amount of $23,489.32.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second to award the bid for the former Marathon gas station to Purpose Contract, the amount of $23,489.32. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call, call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Lukosius. Radke. Payton. Ballard.
Motion approved.
Next, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to award the bid for the former Marathon gas station for the building demolition to the lowest responsible bidder, Scanlon Excavating and Concrete Incorporated, in the amount of $19,899.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second to award the bid for the former gas station building demo to the lowest responsible bidder. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote, clerk call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Lukosius. Radke. Payton. Ballard.
Motion approved.
I'd like to make a motion to seek bids for the 2017 General Fund Street Program.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second to seek bids for the 2017 General Fund Street Program. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote, clerk call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Lukosius. Radke. Payton. Ballard.
Motion approved.
I'd like to make a motion to seek bids for the McKinley Park concession stand.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Have a motion to seek bids for the McKinley Park concession stand. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote, clerk call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Lukosius. Radke. Payton. Ballard.
Back to the General Fund Street Program, Justin, we talked about it in the committee of a whole. What was the number that we're going to be doing with our infrastructure this year? 5 million?
The total number or the general fund?
No, total.
Okay, the out-of-pocket expense will be somewhere between 5 and 5.5 million. Total investment will be closer to 8 million with the work that's being done up at Plank Road that's coming from the developer themselves. So it should be right around 8 million, but out-of-pocket expenses more like 5.5 for the city.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's it. Public service report, city attorneys, ordinances, resolutions?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Nothing. Proclamations. Do we have proclamation? April 11th, 2017 marks the 49th anniversary of the passage of the United States Fair Housing Law, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968. Whereas the City of Peru, as well as the Illinois Valley Association of Realtors, are committed to highlight the Fair Housing Law. Now therefore, I, Scott J. Harrell, Mayor of the City of Peru, do hereby resolve that April 2017, being Fair Housing Month, began a year-long commemoration of the U.S. Fair Housing Law and urge all citizens to wholeheartedly recognize the celebration throughout the year. Do we have a motion to receive and place on file the proclamation?
So moved, Your Honor.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved. Any unfinished business? New business, any new business? Petitions, communications.
Yes, Your Honor, we have two. The first is from the earlier presenter, Dr. Allison Spire, and her husband Matthew, requesting permission for special use for the property located at 1016 7th Street.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion, we send that to the zoning board of appeals, please.
Do we have a second?
I second that, Your Honor.
Jeff Bell. Okay, we have a motion and a second to receive communication from Allison and Matthew Spare, request a special use for property located at 1016 7th Street, Peru, Illinois. Will receive, place on file, and turn it over to planning zoning for review and recommendation. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Next, we have a communication from Kevin Ellebrock of Ellie's Tap, requesting permission to close Prospect Street between 4th and 5th for their 35th anniversary party, and they're going to be participating with Cops for Cancer, and that will be on May 20th and 21st.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion, we accept communication, place it on file, and concur with what they're asking for.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second to receive communication, place on file, and grant permission for their 35th anniversary at Ellie's. They've been doing this every year for a few years now, so. Okay, any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. No further communications?
No, Your Honor.
Public comment, we have any public comment? Anybody? Mike?
I'm just curious what the status is up at the water tower. Is that company still in business that is supposed to be doing the sandblasting and painting? I notice there hasn't been any action going on up there, and most of the tarps are down and pretty well torn up because of the wind.
They suspended last year when the cold weather hit. They're coming back. I don't have a date as we speak on when they're coming back. They went long because of some repairs they needed to do inside, and then they went long and the weather turned cold and wasn't applicable for paint. So.
All right, the other question is, do you have a start date as far as the second portion here on Peoria Street?
The what now?
The second portion of
Right.
Peoria Street here,
Right.
from 17th on 4th.
Right.
Is there any tentative start date by the contractor yet?
No, we don't have it yet. It needs to be reviewed. The bids were turned in. They need to be reviewed. We need to approve the bids, and then it will probably be, I don't know, Mike, roughly a month probably after it's approved by council. Yeah, so I don't have that yet. Hopefully they'll start, I'm going to say sometime in May.
Thank you.
And that will be quite a project because it gets a little busy when you from 5th Street down to 4th Street with the lighting and the detector loops and whatnot. That's going to be a little busy in that area.
Getting back to that water tower, are we leaning on them now? I mean, we've had...
Yeah, we're I haven't personally been in communication, but I know the engineer's been in communication. Eric Carl's with them. Any other public comment? Anybody? Closed session, I don't know that we need another one. Motion for adjournment.
So moved, Your Honor.
All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. All opposed, meeting adjourned.